This episode of Beauty and the Surgeon podcast is brought to you by Let's Get Checked. Let's Get Checked is an online company dedicated to making professional health testing easy and accessible. Let's Get Checked offers fast, affordable, completely confidential at-home health tests from a range of tests from STDs, male and female hormones, and even COVID-19. Listeners of our podcast who are new to Let's Get Checked get 20% off by using our URL, trylgc.com/beauty, and be sure to use the code beauty20 at checkout. That's trylgc.com, trylgc.com/beauty, BEAUTY, and be sure to use the code beauty20, beauty20 at checkout. Do it. Getting tested is important. It's the responsible thing to do, and you know how important I think it is to make sure you understand your labs. Welcome, everyone, to Beauty and the Surgeon podcast. I'm Amy. I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner, and I'm joined today, as always, by Dr. Jason Martin. He's a board-certified plastic and reconstructive surgeon. Dr. Martin, how you doing?
Doing really good today, Amy. Really good.
I like it. Awesome. You got that tight shave. You're looking good.
I shaved. I got my scrubs on. Where are your scrubs? You still don't have scrubs?
My scrubs had an unfortunate event today. It was one of those clinic days that had a little bit of an issue.
I wish we could tell that story.
We won't.
Okay.
I'll just say this. There's a reason I wear black scrubs. Because black hides a lot, but there's some days when even black can't hide what happened.
Hide it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. We're talking about skin today. I actually think that's why you shaved so tight. Like, is that why you shaved so tight?
Yeah, I wanted to show people my baby
like your
face.
Baby face?
All my skin layers.
Yes.
And our topic today is Skincare 101. So, Amy, we have an idea. We're going to give a master class, but you can't give a master class until you learn the basics.
That's right. So if you are interested in skipping ahead to a certain part where we're talking about, you can look in the show notes for some timestamps. Sorry, I feel like I stole your thunder.
No, but that's okay.
The thunder was coming.
But that's to my point, right? You may know 3/4 of the basic 101, but you may not know the other fourth, right?
That's right.
Right. So now you can move ahead. But this is the whole idea. It's just to lay it on the line. This is basic skincare 101. And then we're going to, in the future, we'll do some episodes on the complex stuff.
Yes, as we get more advanced. So if you would like to see the slides that go along with this episode, you can find those along with the timestamps on our YouTube channel at Jason Martin MD. And as always, we're on Instagram at Beauty and the Surgeon Podcast. And this is just if you're looking for more, if you're an advanced skincare person, this is the episode that you will know everything.
Right.
in.
If you're an esthetician, we do not want emails saying this was boring and we know all this stuff. Okay. This is for the common man.
Yes.
But woman. Actually, woman, but I do think even estheticians should look through this. There might be little nuggets that you might be useful in your daily work life.
Let's start with this. So we have the question, how deep is skin deep?
That's
because
philosophical.
Yeah, the skin has many, many layers. I think we look at our skin from the top and, you don't really know what's going on underneath it. And it's really a complex structure. Our skin and epidermis is extremely complex in what it does. Main functions of the skin are going to be things like protection. It's obviously our first line of defense against everything. Really. Assault, mechanical assault, chemical, sun exposure. Like our skin is our first layer of defense.
Viruses.
Everything. Yeah. It's where we have sensation. Like that's where you feel on all the skin on your body has sensory receptors and nerves. So you feel stuff on your skin.
Right.
Also, you can numb it. Temperature regulation. Our skin is key in that. We sweat, like all those structures that cause us to sweat are all in our skin.
And my son in science, we learned about last night, he and I learned about evaporative cooling. That's what happens when you sweat. That's how you thermoregulate.
Yes. So your skin is a key function there. And then also, we've talked about vitamin D so much on this podcast, but that all is synthesized in the skin as well.
Yeah, you're kind of like a vitamin D. Like you love that yourself some vitamin D.
I do. There was a patient of ours this week whose vitamin D levels were like borderline low. And I'm like, ooh, I so want to talk to him about his vitamin D levels. Like,
don't get into their business.
Nope. He's got a primary care physician.
Yeah, you're not going to start taking over.
He's all good. So I have a great picture up. So any of those estheticians out there watching probably had to color this in their anatomy classes and label all these things. But we have multiple layers of the skin itself. So as the skin cells are produced, they basically get thinner and thinner and thinner as they get up to the surface, and then they're flat and they die and they shed. And that happens about every 30 days.
And if you're in a dry climate, that's when you get that kind of ashy, kind of dead skin appearance, and that can be a real problem.
That's just because they're all piling up there. So the skin cells at the very top are not getting a lot of blood anymore. They're cells that are just flattening out. They have no nutrients. That's why they die. That's why I call them dead skin cells, and they fall off. So they're just kind of sitting there. They give that kind of first layer protection. Then as we get farther down and deeper down, which we'll talk about on the next slide, more stuff is going on. There's more nutrients. The cells have more function, essentially.
Yep.
So the very top, skin deep, is not that deep.
It's really not that deep at all.
No.
Microscopic.
It's a lot of dead skin cells.
A majority of your skin is actually the dermis, the deeper layer, which Amy's probably going to get to now.
That's next. So let's go deeper.
Let's get deep. Let's get deep. Let's get deep.
Yes.
Let's get deep down in there.
This picture reminded me of what was it? The books, the Magic School Bus, where they go, like inside the human body. I just see the little school bus like driving around these.
I know
things.
we've talked about this before on this podcast, and then this is like a Groundhog Day moment, and I brought up Mr. Goodbody, and you're like, I have no idea who Mr. Goodbody was.
He had the skin suit.
Right.
Creepy AF.
Yeah. Like, that guy was creepy.
So, and he'd sing and dance. He was really creepy.
So please,
don't
anyone
look up Mr. Goodbody.
who's younger, please go on YouTube and look up Mr. Goodbody. It's kind of disturbing.
He's so creepy.
That's how we learn science.
Yep.
And he had like a Jerry, like he had
really curly
hair. They went like a Yanni level curly hair that went down to his shoulders.
Oh my goodness.
They probably don't know who Yanni
body
is.
Bodysuit. No, they don't. So this is a great look at what's underneath. So what I said just now is our skin is really just the start. Like, so in this picture, the epidermis, what we were just
on
talking
Jason Martin
about,
MD YouTube channel.
It's just that top little skinny layer. But then after that, we've got the dermis and then the subcutaneous tissue. And that's where the stuff is really going on.
Yeah, you can see, I mean, this is not to scale, but it's like massively bigger. The deep dermis, or the dermis, that's what we sew to when we do surgery. We don't sew to the epidermis, which is that outer layer.
Yeah. One of the really interesting things, if you want to understand kind of the functions of the skin itself, or that top surface of the skin, that's really interesting is the skin cells like go down into each little hair follicle too. So they wrap the inside of that little follicle, and then outside the follicle, you have these sebaceous glands that produce sweat and oil. You have a little nerve that's attached to each little hair follicle that causes it to rise up.
That's called piloerection.
Yep. So that's what gives you the, when you get like goosebumps, or you got like your hair's all on end. Like
if you get goosebumps, your friend gets goosebumps, to say you have a piloerection.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you do. Like, look at all that. You have thousands of them. Look at you go.
Your piloerection is pretty massive right now.
Aggressive. Impressive. So there's a lot going on. You've got, sweat glands, you got nerves, you got blood, you got all this stuff going on. Lots of things going on underneath the surface. And it kind of gives you a good idea of like how, when we talk about skincare, what are we really talking about? Are we really treating that dead skin on top?
Yeah. So this is the real rub of everything. Okay. We're all like focused on, it's just so like emblematic of us in our lives. We're focusing on the outside, that little thin layer, when there's like 100 million feet below. That's really where all the business is.
Yes.
And we buy all these creams that none of them really go down to that deeper layer pretty much. And we'll probably get to that. And so just remember that, you have to treat the outside. It's super important. I'm sure we'll talk about sun rays and stuff like that. But the skin is very complex. And Amy said to me a long time ago, the skin's an organ, and she's absolutely right. And that organ is very complex. This is complex as other organs in our body. Just treating the outside does not treat the whole, the whole foundation of your skin.
And it's kind of a victim. Like, our skin is kind of the victim of what's going on underneath it as well. So if you have, and people who have massive weight loss, like they have all this excess skin because of the weight loss. Like, the skin is just it's an innocent bystander, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they have all this excess skin that they hate, and like, well, the skin is just, it's got nowhere to go.
Right.
So, protecting the deeper layers is really important too. And one of the things, if we go back a slide and kind of look at all these little cells as they go up, one of the things it's hard to kind of see on this picture, but where you make melanin, so we have these little melanocytes, there's the little green guy on the slide. That's what gives our skin pigment. So those are kind of with us all the time as well. So like the freckles and moles on your body that you have are really underneath there all the time. Like, you don't see moles on babies often. Like, you see birthmarks, but it's very rare to see freckles or moles on a baby.
Right, you don't.
You don't. It's because, but they're there. That melanin is there. It's just not up there yet. So as you age, and that you start turning skin over, and the melanin is coming up, and it's also being kind of stimulated by sun exposure and other things, that melanin kind of gets more to the surface.
Yep.
So that's why people get like freckly who spend a lot of time in the sun. They're just really stimulating those melanin production to kind of go into overdrive to protect and to kind of beef up the skin. But that color is there, which is also why if you scrape off a mole or a freckle or something, why it can come back.
Right.
Because if you just scrape off the stuff on the top, it's mostly dead anyway. And that melanocyte is way down here, way at the bottom. That pigment's just going to come right back up.
Exactly.
So There's a lot going on there. All right. So we're going to talk to the person who has been washing their face with bar soap or not at all.
We're talking to you. We're
talking
looking
to
right
you.
at you right now.
So where would you start? Like the bare minimum.
We're talking to my son. Okay.
All right. These are things that like
Jacob.
Everybody should do before just what should you do from a very basic level?
But I think actually people that are super into everything, they should listen to this too, because these are the things that you have to do. And there's going to be an analogy that Amy and I are going to talk about here in a second. So these are must-haves for your skin.
Yeah. So the 3 things on this list are retinol, vitamin C,
Yep.
and sunscreen.
Exactly.
And if you were to say to me, Amy, I can't do all of that, I would say then just please wear sunscreen.
Yeah.
Like please wear sunscreen. But Deborah, let's talk, why are these 3 things on here?
So retinoic acid, or that's actually Retin-A is retinoic acid. Retinol is a derivative of retinoic acid. So retinol is a weaker version of Retin-A. Really is helpful. It induces skin turnover, gets you to turn over the skin. And inherently because of that, and because of its positive effects, can reduce the effects of sun damage on your skin.
Yeah, it's actually really the only thing that is FDA approved to like address facial aging, like for fine lines. And it does. It turns the skin cells over. It's making your skin work a little harder, getting fresher skin to the surface.
It induces more collagen production, which can make your skin a little bit thicker.
Yep.
So overall, if the first thing everyone should do is add one of these products if possible. Now, the problem with these products is they make you more sensitive to sun exposure.
They make you extremely photosensitive. And
yeah, that can be a problem.
It can be a problem. And it's especially an issue if you are like a young person who's maybe using retinol or a Retin-A product to treat acne, because they're often prescribed for acne treatment.
And that's what it was originally approved for.
Yeah. And again, because it's turning those cells over, so it's getting gunk out of the pores. So you're not getting a chance to get that kind of buildup of sebum and of dead skin cells in your pores that are kind of irritating or inducing the acne. So for some people, retinol is a great solution to acne. For other people, their acne has other causes, so it doesn't work as well. But it can be prescribed to very young teens, and then they may not be the best about sunscreen. So if you're using a retinol and then you're out in the sun, you're leaving that skin very vulnerable to sun damage. So, you're kind of fighting against the anti-aging component of that if you're exposing yourself to a lot of sun, but also using a retinol. So if you're going to use a retinol, there is no other option than to really be cautious with your sun exposure and wear sunscreen every day.
Right. And the other issue with Retin-A, per memory, is the pregnancy component. It's very problematic. So if you're planning on getting pregnant, you should not use a retinol
not even
or
touch
Retin-A.
it. Yeah.
And then if you have a younger kid, a teenager, this is the problem, right? So teenagers theoretically in their behaviors, I think, I'm not sure what the dermatologists do now, but that some people would require them to be on birth control, confirmed, before they would prescribe some of these things. With that said, retinol, which is a weaker version of Retin-A, is probably one of the best things you can do.
Yeah, and the reason
it will dry you out a little bit, make you feel a little bit irritated, but retinol is great. Retinol is great because it's not as strong as Retin-A, and most people can tolerate it pretty well.
Yeah, retinoids instead of retinols. Like basically, they're just more. Your body has to work harder to convert them into the usable form, so they're much more gentle. And a lot of people can use like a Retin-A prescription on their face, but it may be too strong for their neck and chest, so they'll use like a retinoid product, like an over-the-counter that's a little bit lighter, that doesn't cause issues. People who should not use retinols or retinoids are those who have psoriasis or other conditions that make you red and peely. Anyway, you want to definitely stay away from those. So there are a few people who I would not recommend a retinol for, but it's rare. Pretty much everybody can be using one. Vitamin C.
That's your second favorite vitamin. Vitamin D first.
Vitamin C.
But we decided vitamin D was a hormone.
Vitamin D is a hormone.
We established that, so okay.
Yep. So maybe my favorite.
This is my favorite vitamin because we always talk about scurvy, ascorbic acid.
Well, and it's key for scars. I mean, we talk about vitamin C in all of our episodes where we talk about healing.
For collagen production.
So
vitamin C is really helps with this is one that really does help with sun damage, right? Because it's an antioxidant, and the problem with sun damage is it develops the free radicals, and the vitamin C supposedly helps with that and absorbs it and makes it better.
And that's where you really need to make sure you're getting a quality vitamin C product, and it's stored in a dark container that's not exposed to sunlight. Years ago, when we were first kind of using these vitamin C extracts essentially in skincare, we'd make people store them in the refrigerator because they were so unstable. And we've talked a lot about vitamin C on our recovery episode and also talking about scars. you can't like load vitamin C because it's a water soluble vitamin. So it breaks down very quickly. So if you're taking vitamin C for recovery, you need to take it every single day. It's not something that you can just take once and it builds up in your system like you can with some other types of vitamins. You can kind of store them. You can't store vitamin C. It breaks down quickly. And that's why even in skincare products, if you're using a low quality vitamin C or you're storing it improperly, like in sunlight, it's just going to break down. So a great triad for new starters to skincare is going to be, wash your face. Please don't use bar soap. At night, retinol and some moisturizer. In the day,
Amy got me retinol drops, Image, I believe, Image drops, and then I mix it with my lotion. I found a lotion that works for my kind of oiliness of my skin or lack thereof, and that's what I use at nighttime.
Yeah.
So and that's easy. Now, do you have to use the toner? Is the toner imperative?
Like
for the beginner, for the 101 person? Yeah.
No, I don't think toners for advanced is a necessity.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So wash your face, preferably with a facial scrub.
Don't scrub.
I mean, facial soap
gentle.
That's gentle. It doesn't have to be aggressive, preferably one that you would buy in an office like ours, something that has a little bit more of a medical quality to it, but it doesn't have to be that. And then lotion, retinol. How would you apply the vitamin C at the same time?
Vitamin C I would do in the morning. So remember, it's going to help fight free radicals. So
Yeah.
you're basically giving your skin an extra little boost because you put this vitamin C serum on, or vitamin C on in the morning, you let it soak in, then you do your sunscreen. It's just going to give your cells that little added fight as it gets attacked by rays of the sun.
And do you have a vitamin C product that you like?
You just need to make sure that you store it properly and that it comes in an opaque container. So if you're buying your vitamin C and it's in a clear bottle, like don't buy that one.
Okay.
It needs to be in an opaque, not see-through container, preferably dark container. There are many good ones out there. I'm not going to get into brand names, but there are many good vitamin C products out there.
Okay, good.
It's really more about how it's prepared and how you store it.
Now, what about sunscreen? Because we usually do at our house, we do mineral-based sunscreens. That's what I recommend to the patients. But what do you have? Do you have a feeling about that one way or the other?
It depends on the person. Now, most people are going to be fine with a chemical-based sunscreen, but a lot of our patients after surgery especially find their skin is very sensitive to even the sunscreen they were using prior. So that's when I will recommend that they try switching to a mineral sunscreen. Sunscreens are one of those things that I say are, they only work if you use them. So because they are so specific, so the smell of the sunscreen, the texture of the sunscreen, the color of the sunscreen, all of those things are going to be things that people either like or hate. Finding a sunscreen that you like and that you will use is what's most important to me.
Right.
Make sure that's a broad spectrum and that you apply it correctly, meaning you use enough of it and you reapply it as
every 2 hours, basically.
Yes, if you're outside.
Every 2 hours, and then if you get in the water right when you get out of the water.
Yep.
I said this to one of our male patients, and he was like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm serious."
Yeah. And you're using like a tablespoonful on your face.
No, I'm making this up. I just want to like you to go apply sunscreen all the time. It's like, yeah, that's how long it lasts. He goes, "There's no way." I'm like, "Okay, go look it up."
Yeah, I do like zinc sunscreen. I like a high percentage of
well, zinc will last a little longer, but then people don't like it because it's
well, it can show, but there are translucent zinc sunscreens that you can get now. There are a lot of them actually, and you want to be cautious of what type of sunscreen you're using if you're swimming in an area where there's reefs.
Yeah.
We don't want to make people kill off the reef. So using a reef-safe sunscreen if you're swimming in the ocean is absolutely what I would recommend. For everyday use, I do like a zinc-based sunscreen because they are a little bit better protection, especially for our altitude, especially if you're outside in the winter. Using a thicker zinc-based sunscreen is definitely what I'd recommend.
Yeah, we use mineral-based in our house, so that's what we like.
Yeah, and mineral-based are great too.
Yeah,
like they really are. And
they're thicker. I mean, they have a sheen to it.
They're a little thicker, and they can be a little greasy. But there's so many options. There's powdered options. There's spray options. So finding a sunscreen that you like and that you will use every day is by far the most important. And absolutely do not rely on the sunscreen in your foundation. It is not good. There's not enough sunscreen.
Rely on the sunscreen in your foundation.
You're not using enough. So the amount of, unless you are really applying a lot of foundation, which I hope you're not. If you keep your skin looking good, you don't need to. But
there you go.
Relying on the SPF 15 in your foundation is not enough.
Yeah. By the way, the SPF of 100 is like so meaningless. I think I was looking at those studies. I think it's like up to maybe 35, maybe 40.
Like 40.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then past that, it's just you're paying extra.
You're paying extra, and you're
for the bullfrog.
Right. You're getting an incremental
Yeah,
incremental improvement.
It's not as much.
Yeah, like for an infant, I mean, would I pay the extra and get the 100? Yeah, like why not? Am I still going to reapply
it makes you feel good.
Yes.
It makes you feel good. It's like spinal tap.
You still have
why
to
go to
reapply.
11 when you can only go to 10? Because I can.
You still have to reapply.
Yeah, let's go higher. I'm going to come out with an SPF of 300. And it's just going to be, it's just going to be a big, like, muscular man on the front of it. Like, I'm going to block
a huge
the sun.
bottle with like a big pump.
Yeah. It's going to be like chalk.
Yes. So this is a great triad. So if you do nothing else, you wash your face, you use a retinol or a retinoid product at night, a vitamin C serum in the day that's high quality and that you store properly, and a good quality sunscreen that you use and reapply. That's the must. Like this is where you need to start.
Start there.
Start at the ground. So let's take a quick break. Hear a word from our favorite sponsor, which is Let's Get Checked.
Let's Get Checked.
And we'll be back. Dr. Martin, I'm super excited to talk about our sponsor for this podcast, Let's Get Checked. If you've been a listener of our podcast, you know that we have never had a sponsor before, and that's because we're an educational podcast. We're not looking to monetize, and we also would never recommend something that we didn't believe in and or use ourselves.
So basically you're saying we're very choosy.
We're very choosy when we come to our testing, but Let's Get Checked really aligns with our values. We talk a lot about monitoring your blood values of certain things. We talked recently about vitamin D serum levels. We talk a lot about hormone levels, and it's hard for some people to get to a lab, or you're afraid of the blood draw, or just, you're concerned about confidentiality. Like you have a lot of concerns and you just don't do it. Let's Get Checked makes it super easy because it's completely confidential. You do it from your home. So there's really no excuse not to do it.
Yeah, and we did it recently. Both Amy and I did it. She looked at her women's health, basically her hormone levels, and I looked at mine on the men's health side with testosterone. It was very simple. You go online. Their online interface is really easy to use and good. We got the testing kit very quickly, and the test itself, actually doing the stick, you do a stick on the end of your finger, is not hard to do. It only took about 3 to 4 minutes. You put it back in a sealed envelope that's confidential, goes back to them. You get your results in 2 to 5 days. It's really that simple. And the best part is it's about empowerment, about you taking control and trying to do things that are positive for your health and life. And this is one way to do it literally from the comfort of your own home.
Yeah, so they offer a wide range of tests. So they do men's and women's hormone panels. They do a full panel of STD testing. They also are now offering a COVID-19 test at home. So there are a lot of other just basic blood levels that you can get tested as well. And one of the things that we always say is you can't track what you don't check. So you might not know what's normal for you in the future if you're not checking it now, especially as it relates to hormones. And men's health specifically, I feel like is a little bit undertreated. I mean, sperm counts are dropping by a large percentage in men these days. Most men struggle at some point in their lifetime with low testosterone.
And those men do not know what the symptoms of low testosterone are. Depression, anxiety, sleep problems, osteopenia or loss of bone, loss of muscle, and something we treat all the time, gynecomastia or male breast growth. These are real problems that can be improved or treated with testosterone. And these men do not know their levels. It's so easy to get checked. And this is why we're so excited about the sponsor.
Yeah. And Let's Get Checked is a completely CLIA certified lab, the CLIA lab. So they're a well-established, completely safe lab to use. You do get contacted after, so you get your results. I got a text at 4:30 in the morning, which I loved, that my results were ready.
And we're both up at 4:30, so that was good.
Super excited. And you have access to not only a nurse, but also a physician. So a physician does review your results, and it gives you a little breakdown of like where you're sitting on those levels. Dr. Martin's had even comparisons of like where 2 of the levels should be in relation to each other, which is a really important thing to note.
Right.
Just being within the normal range is not always enough. So it really gave more information than that. You'd still want to, of course, reach out to your own doctor if you needed some additional assistance with these labs or you did see something that was concerning. We didn't, thankfully, so that was good.
Yeah. We were both good. This podcast is about empowerment. It's educational. In my private practice, I'm a board-certified plastic surgeon. We are all about empowerment, and this is one way to do it. So we're very excited about the sponsorship, and we're looking forward to using it for our patients moving forward.
Yeah, so as a listener of our podcast, if you're also a new time user to Let's Get Checked, which a lot of you probably are, we do have a 20% discount code. So you do need to go to our specific URL, and it is linked in the description box below, but it's going to be TryLGC, so TRYLGC, like Let's Get Checked.com/beauty, BEAUTY. And you'll need to use the code BEAUTY20 at checkout. Beauty again is BEAUTY 220. And you can pick a test, like any test you'd like, put in our code and get your test shipped to you. Getting tested is the right thing to do. It's lets you know where you're at and what's responsible.
All right, well, let's get tested.
Let's get tested. Let's get checked.
Let's get checked.
All right, so we're back. We're not getting too deep. We're just going skin deep.
We're just going skin deep. Oh, I mean,
I'm so funny.
you're not.
I'm not. Well, how about
Do
if
we
I get
need to
some
have
extra
people
credit?
write in and tell you that like your puns are okay? but
Amy's
not-
jokes are stupid.
I don't think mine are much better. That's the problem. But I think ours combined together, yours are bad and mine are bad. That like in combination, like a chemical equation, it actually turns out okay.
It turns into something actually
Yeah.
funny that people want to listen to.
Yeah.
Maybe. Well, let's talk about. So if these are still starter, we're not going crazy.
Not
with this
going
episode.
cray.
But if you just
okay?
want a little bit of extra
101
credit.
still 101. But this is if you already got a 95, right, and you want to bump your grade up to a 99, this is some extra credit.
These are the things, and these are easy things to add in. So let's talk about exfoliants. People want to scrub their skin off.
Well, I can tell you, I'm not lying. We have. Barb always gets the oily kind of with sugar or some salt or something.
body scrub.
Body scrubs. And I love that.
For your body.
Yeah.
Please don't put that on your
No,
face.
on your face, it would be terrible.
Yes.
Yeah. Do
So
people do those kind of?
People do like the walnut scrubs, and like
Yeah.
people like to scrub. And I don't know if it's like you get all like deeply religious with this like cleansing or something, but people always want to get a scrub for their face. And I would say, let's just maybe not do that.
Yeah.
Like if I would give anyone advice to treat your skin a little bit nicer, it would be to stop using a mechanical scrub,
Yep.
meaning something with powdered pieces of something that actually abrades the skin.
Going to a legit medical office to get a facial is probably
Totally
a better
different.
way, better
Oh my
way to
goodness,
go.
yeah, just go get a microderm.
Microdermabrasion.
Yeah. People tend to overscrub, but exfoliation is actually really important, especially as we age. Make sure we're getting our skin cells turned over. If you're using a retinol product, the last thing you want is to be turning cells over and just having them all piling up there on the top.
Yep.
You don't want that. So using a chemical exfoliant. So I'm talking about things like a glycolic acid. Really, really helpful for your skincare. And it really can give you that nice little refresh without causing you to peel. They can be very gentle, shouldn't really cause too much stinging or irritation. And I'd actually recommend kind of going a 2 nights with your retinol, then 1 night with maybe a glycolic something to kind of exfoliate, then doing a more hydrating step like hyaluronic acid that 3rd night, and then go back to 2 nights of retinol.
This
and
is
just kinda
getting
cycle
away
through
from
that.
101. This is like getting
Well,
in
that's
the
an extra
master.
credit.
Okay.
This is not masterclass by any means, but chemical.
I'm not doing this.
Right. So chemical exfoliants are really great. They're helpful for people who are struggling maybe with some acne.
Right.
It's a nice step to add in that's still gentle to your skin to replace the scrubbing.
So what about these copper peptides?
Copper peptides
I
are
don't have a lot of
really,
experience with those.
they're my favorite of the things that I really feel like show actual proof of being good for helping with preventative skin treatment, with aging, with wrinkles. Copper peptides are definitely something that's been around for a really long time and that have been in a lot of skincare products, but don't really get a lot of credit for what maybe the skincare products are doing. Great step. It's a simple thing to add in. It can be used on most any skin type, can be used in conjunction with your retinols and other things. So it's something you can add in without having any cross reactions. And it's really just going to help give your skin a little bit more oomph. It's going to help it's going to help give it a little more strength, bring a little more integrity to the skin. So if you're
Nice.
wanting to add in something in addition to the basics, that's one.
And the hyaluronic acid, yeah, which is basically what the fillers are.
Yep.
And hyaluronic acid in itself are fillers between the cells in your body anyways. So they're hydrating. I mean, that's what hyaluronic acid does. Hyaluronic it's hydrophilic, so it absorbs water. And that's what it does for your body between the cells. Creates that substrate between the cells that things can float in between. It keeps the water there. So putting that on your skin, does it actually penetrate the skin?
It can. And that's where if you want to make sure that you're exfoliating properly, so you've got some good cell turnover, and these hyaluronic acid molecules are very small, so they can be delivered into the skin. Now, they're going to plump just that surface skin. They're not getting deep.
Yeah, gotcha.
So what they're going to do is kind of give that plumped appearance. It is temporary. It's not going to last for the day you don't use your hyaluronic acid. You don't have any.
Just use it on Fridays and Saturdays.
You don't have it
It's
there,
okay.
and it's not going to plump. So hyaluronic acid is something I would recommend if you're only going to use it once a day, use it in the morning because it's going to give you that plumped appearance during the day. However, it is important if you live in a super dry climate that you make sure you are hydrating appropriately on top of your hyaluronic acid, because if you just throw your hyaluronic acid on and you're in a super dry climate, it can actually end up with some people cause more dryness because it's kind of like
Drawing out the fluid.
it's drawing the fluid out.
Okay.
So if there's nothing to hydrate it or keep it locked in, and that's where, a good moisturizer on top of
that should be a
hyaluronic
101
is
too.
good.
Hydration is super important for
Hydration is
skin.
very important. Yeah. So those are just 3 things. And we'll talk more about all of these things as we get into more advanced skincare. But just for those who are like, okay, I'm already doing those first 3 things. What can I do that's a little bit more, that's not going crazy? Add in a little bit of a chemical exfoliant, meaning some glycolic or some other type of topical acid to slough off some of those dead skin cells. Copper peptides we'll talk about in way more detail when we get way deeper into skincare, because there's a specific type of copper peptide that I recommend. And then hyaluronic acid. These are things that are easy to come by and definitely do show some actual positive results in actual studies.
Okay, good.
So there's our extra credit. Let's talk about the basic skincare devices that people can get at home. So I called it rocks and rollers, LED lights, and then like brushes and massagers. If you're listening to this, well, you are listening to this after it happened. Clarisonic went out of business, which used to be one of our favorite
they did?
skincare brushes.
When did that happen?
About a month or two ago.
God.
So like late summer 2020.
I can't say the name of the viral illness, but it's like wreaking havoc on the aesthetics industry.
In the summer of 2020, Clarisonic did go out of business, which is a bummer.
They were great. Their heads, their rotating cleansing heads were awesome.
We really like them because they were very gentle. And that's, again, where we get back to like that manual exfoliation. People can go way too crazy hard with a brush too. So what I would recommend instead of a face brush for cleansing is actually the ones that are made of like silicone, because they're going to be very gentle on the surface. They give a little bit of vibration, which helps exfoliate.
I got that for my daughter. Actually, she was having acne issues, and it's like a gentle kind of massaging, swirling, but they were all silicone heads. That's the first thing I noticed about them, which is actually easier to clean too, because the problems with the Clarisonic is
you had to replace the brushes, and if they didn't get clean, they could breed bacteria, just like a toothbrush. You know, there's a lot of bristles. So these things that you can do at home, they do have benefit. Like I really love a jade roller, and you can also get a jade, like it's a rock, but to use it for kind of massage along the face. Those things do help. They help keep your skin plump. They help bring blood to the surface. They can help with puffiness, help with lymphatic drainage on the face. Yeah,
you can chill your jade roller, especially if you have puffiness in the lower eyelids, and you can roll the cold jade roller over your lower eyelids.
Or uppers, and it just, those things really are helpful. So if you're just doing some basic skincare and you just want to add on a little something.
LED, that's our faves.
Yes, and this we'll talk way more about when we get more into like
that's the
more
master
involved
class.
in skincare.
That's when I step up to the plate.
But a lot of people ask me because they do see them. Like you see those, they
work.
Yeah, they do work.
Blue lights, the blue light ones are great for acne. The red light ones are great for inflammation, and the mixture ones are great for aging.
Yeah, amber lights are really great for aging. So if you're considering like something that you can do at home, these are great places to start: a jade roller, an LED light mask, and just something to maybe encourage cleansing. I'll say that, like a little skin brush, a little skin massager. They really do help, and they do show some benefit. So what we're not going to talk about today: sheep, placenta, and semen facials. Anyone? I also added unicorn tears. This is where everybody wants to go, right? You talk about skincare, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna rub stem cells all over my face.
I mean, for reals though, like, is there literally a semen facial out there?
There is, yeah.
Now, okay, is that semen collected from humans or semen collected from animals? I'm just so confused about that.
Yeah.
We don't have to go into it, but
the thought process.
I'm not going to Google it.
Right. The thought process with both of these things.
That would mess up my...
Just don't. They do exist. And why do they exist? Because people think that putting other living things that have lots of nutrients in them, right? I mean, semen, oh my gosh, it's like the start of life, right? Like it's half of what it takes to grow a human.
Yeah, it's a lot of protein, but you can just find protein somewhere else.
Right. I mean, there's other things there too. Like, is it hydrating? Like, oh my gosh.
So that's the one thing that Amy and I struggle with. And this is what, when we get into the masterclass level, we'll talk about this. And that'll be actually a really, really good episode, because this idea that you can put stuff on the outside of your face and just somehow penetrate into the deep layers of your skin is absolute madness. There is not a great way to deliver it, and there's no data that shows that it does that. Now, it can penetrate a little bit sometimes, but the bigger the thing, the less likely it's going to go through the tight layers of those skin cells. I mean, the skin cell is a barrier, right? They're not
They're
loose.
for protection.
Yeah, exactly. Just imagine like saran wrap. Like it doesn't want water to get in there. It wants to keep everything in and not let stuff come in. So
this is why we don't drown.
Right. So do you think? Do you think that if you put semen from whatever source or sheep placenta, that it's going to start making a big difference? It's not. That's just ludicrous. You're stupid. Yeah. Now, we've all done stupid things. It's okay. I'm not judging you. If it's something you enjoy and it's giving you happiness in your life, especially at this time, that's great. With that said, you got to be really smart. Stem cells, huge topic right now. And we're definitely going to have an episode on that. The problem with stem cells externally, and you can't inject them internally. At least the FDA is not allowing us to do that right now.
No, there are no topical products with human stem cells in them in the United States.
Okay. But I'm sure off-label at certain places you could get stem cells, and they would do treatments that supposedly puts those stem cells into your body externally. That's hard. I have not seen data that shows that works. So if you're going someplace and you're going to spend some crap load of money on putting
thousands of dollars,
putting some crazy thing on your face, and you think that that's going to be the drastic difference, it will not happen. Now, the technology will improve. Stem cell technology is improving. We're into it. We think it has a lot of potential, but it's not there yet.
No, and there's, a lot of things that people are like maybe are calling stem cells that really aren't. Like human mesenchymal cells are basically like an adult stem cell. Yeah. However, most stem cells are highly specialized.
And there are components related to stem cells that we talked about before. We couldn't remember the name. Starts with an E, but there's certain components that are smaller that can, kind of maybe penetrate the skin and do have help. So I'm not saying the stem cells aren't useful. I'm not saying that topically they don't help in some ways, maybe with healing and inflammation, but it's not this grand plan that you can just put stuff on your face and all of a sudden it penetrates in there.
Yeah, and that's because stem cells, like I was saying, are very specialized for the most part. Like they do one thing. And that's where I put on here human versus plant. A lot of topical skincare products have plant stem cells or plant sterols or all these other things that sometimes they are really effective. But just because a stem cell from a rose makes a rose petal grow doesn't mean it's going to do anything for your skin. And this is where getting to the kind of the human component of things that we'll obviously dive deeper on a different episode, those would need to be your own stem cells. So getting a stem cell cream that you buy that is not your stem cells is very unlikely that would do anything, even if it was penetrating.
If it's placental, I don't know. We're getting way in the weeds.
That's what I mean.
We're past 101 now.
There's so many things here, but the reason I really wanted this slide in here was because if you are kind of starting out in skincare, and you don't jump to this.
Right. Don't slather $500 on your face. Yeah. Just get a retinol. Okay. Right, it's $30. Use
retinol, use sunscreen, like treat your skin well. Please. Yes. Like don't think that, oh my gosh, I need to do this semen facial or, rub somebody else's blood all over my face. You guys, this is a problem with. Yeah. All right. We're going to move on to the next slide. Right. So let's talk about being healthy from the inside out. This is obviously my wheelhouse, but truly, truly, truly with your skin, as we saw in the beginning, what you see on the surface, it has very little, there's not much that changes once the skin gets to the surface. So your really ability to impact how your skin looks is from underneath. It's the underneath stuff. It's the good in, it's the good out. Hydration is absolutely key. Being dehydrated is absolutely probably one of the things that's going to make you look prematurely aged quicker than anything. Being chronically dehydrated. So making sure you're hydrating appropriately, drinking good quality water, healthy fat, antioxidants, those things on the inside are going to help boost your skin from the bottom and make it healthier. And then of course there are some supplements that can make your skin improve. They can improve your skin. We've talked about vitamin C on this episode.
We've talked about cod liver oil.
Cod liver oil is very key for good vascular health, which is going to help your skin. Taking collagen supplements. When was it? When I had the Vital Proteins collagen supplement.
And that's when I asked you if you could just take beef collagen. It's totally fine.
Like this is beef collagen.
Yeah, yes, exactly. That's what it is.
That's what it is, bovine collagen. So yeah, there are absolutely things that you can do to make your skin healthier with your diet. And that's a great place to start too. Before you spend thousands of dollars on a vampire facial, maybe think a little bit about the quality of the food you're eating. Because just like a house, you cannot build a quality house with recycled bad ingredient. Yeah.
And we talked about, Amy and I were talking about longevity today, and I sent her an article that said 20%.
I sent you that article.
But then I sent it back to you.
You sent me back a snippet of it.
Okay, well, I'm just saying. I sent you back the important part.
Oh, okay.
the reduced version. So it was an article, it was like in Vogue, or it was kind of a regular magazine, but it was about longevity and where it's going. And in there, they quoted one of the premier scientists in the field of longevity, and he said that 20% of our longevity, that's how long we live, is related to our genetics. And I thought that was really, really low, and 80% is related to everything else. But you know what that everything else is? It's not some secret pill. Sleep, stress reduction,
light exposure, EMFs, all the things that we're assaulting.
I mean, the major reason that people died historically is trauma. Like just don't being an idiot and avoiding trauma if you can, right? Being safe. All these things, these aren't some super expensive drug. You just take a pill and all of a sudden you live forever. They're like basic things. Skincare is the same stuff. If you sleep well, you hydrate, you eat right, you don't smoke, if you have diabetes, you control that, and then you do the three things we talked about, that's like you're 90% there. The other stuff, these semen facials and sheep. What was it? Placenta?
Sheep placenta creams.
Okay,
Yes.
sheep placenta creams. Maybe they'll give you a little bit of a boost there, maybe 1% to 2%. Is that worth the extra money that you're spending? Probably not. So it's the equivalency in nutrition. Amy and I talk about that too. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, making sure the one thing I can't emphasize enough, aside from hydration, when talking about diet, is getting good quality fat, replacing your toxic seed oils with healthy fats from natural sources.
So we have canola oil in our house, and the kids pick it out. And I'm like, Amy does not approve, and I don't use it.
That is the number one thing I would get out of everybody's kitchen.
Yeah. It's a rancid oil.
It's a rancid seed oil. Rapeseed oil is what it's made from.
My family has mutinied on the canola oil.
They use it for lamps. That's how it was. I mean, that seriously is used as lamp oil. It burnt. Yeah.
So I tried to make him French fries in avocado oil, and he's like, "What is this crap? I want real oil."
Though.
And that's like, canola oil is not real oil. It's rancid
Duck
oil.
fat.
He goes, "I don't know what that means. I want regular oil. This is not good."
Rendered duck fat. That's what you need.
Yeah.
So vegetable oils, industrial seed oils. Those are the things I would get out of your diet before doing anything else, really. If you're unwilling to get rid of industrial seed oils and rancid fats, it's going to be hard for your body to make really happy cells, because our cells all have a phospholipid bilayer, which is fat on both sides.
And that includes skin cells.
It includes every cell, heart, brain, all your cells. So giving your body good quality, healthy fat is going to make your skin look better. It's going to make your nerves function better, your blood cells function better. Like everything will be better.
It'll make your semen better.
It will. On that note.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for listening to our Skincare 101. I'm excited to get deeper into skincare at some point.
We're going to definitely have a master class. And that's when it's going to be good, because Amy and I we're really going to dig deep, and all the super knowledgeable people on skincare are finally going to be like, okay, I could watch this episode.
Right, I can listen to this.
But I mean, it's a take-home message. Like, it's usually Occam's razor. The easiest answer is the right one. The easy answer here is do these 3 things. Avoid sun. By the way, sun exposure, the worst thing you can do for skin aging. UVA, UVB, and UVC rays are what's up in space. That's why we're so concerned about going to Mars, because those are the worst UV rays. But the UVA and B rays are what causes skin cancer and aging, a big part of it. So even Amy taught me this, even certain clothes, you think you're covered, you're not.
You're not.
You have to have UV protection on your clothes.
Clouds are also not a cover.
Nope.
Neither is snow.
Yeah. Snow is the worst.
Yeah, and you're especially vulnerable if
It's
you're
like a
underwater.
reflecting shield right back into your face.
Water is also not a protection. Water is not keeping you from getting sun exposure.
Sunscreen is imperative, and, covering yourself when you can, being smart and safe, that kind of stuff.
That's right. Be sun safe. So
Okay.
Thank you everyone so much for listening. We have one big favor to ask. If you're watching us on YouTube at Jason Martin MD, if you would subscribe to our channel, we would really appreciate it. We're trying to get up to 1,000 subscribers. I hope that someday someone listens to this like, oh my gosh, they have like 3 million subscribers.
Yeah, 4. Do you remember when they had 300?
They were asking for 1,000 subscribers,
Yeah.
but we really would appreciate it, mostly because we want to have a merchandise store, because we would love for people to be able to carry.
We'd love for people to watch us on YouTube, but we just want merch.
Right?
Okay.
I want shirts
Let's just
that
be
say
honest.
SWAT ladies.
Like, we're not trying to monetize this. So
Yes.
we want merch.
We want it for you. We don't make money off of it, but we would love it if you would support us and give us a follow and leave us a comment, a rating, review. It really does helps people find us. We also have really exciting news. We have a voicemail line now. So if you would like to call and leave us a voicemail, you might hear yourself on our podcast one day. That number is in the show notes, but it is 303-630-9038. So you can leave us a voicemail, and we really appreciate your support, everyone. You got anything else to say?
That's all I got.
Skin safe. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, keep your skin safe.
Don't forget to check out our sponsor, Let's Get Checked. Let's Get Checked offers fast, affordable, and completely confidential health testing for everything from STDs, male and female hormones, and even COVID-19, right from the comfort of your own home. And remember, new customers and listeners of our podcast get 20% off by using our URL, trylgc.com/beauty, and be sure to use the code BEAUTY20 at checkout. That's trylgc.com/beauty and use the code BEAUTY20, beauty, BEATUY 20 at checkout. Get checked. It's the right thing to do.